So in yesterday's video, I went through the post-race commentary, the post-race analysis from Brundle and Crofty at Abu Dhabi 2021. And then I stopped it when they got through to the drivers' interviews, where Jenson Button was interviewing the three drivers in the immediate aftermath of the race. Now I'm going to do a separate video with those interviews because Button doesn't address the fact that the rules were broken. And that's rather strange, isn't it? You've just witnessed a sporting event where the rules have been broken, and the guy asking the questions of the competitors doesn't talk about the rules being broken. So that's for a different video. After that, there's some more to come from Brundle and Crofty. So here it is. If you've got F1 TV, this is a 1 hour, 55 minutes, 10 seconds of the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I can't play this through on the footage. It's going to be blocked on copyright, so I have to go to tracker view. That's just showing a blank screen now. I'll see if it plays through on data view. So I'll go on that.
Well done.
Just got data channel. Okay, so let's have a listen to what Crofty now says, and I'll soon be bringing up what Brundle says. So here we go.
To Max as well. Whether it's a controversial end or not to that race, I'm sure the debate will rage on as to why.
Whether it's a controversial end to that race or not, well, it is. So why are you suggesting it either it is or it isn't? It clearly was wrong. But again, we bring into this notion, the debate will rage on. That is what they want. Okay? Understand this. If you create conflict, people will fight, right? When people are fighting, you are making money, all right? This is the way the dynamics of the situation are. Who's making money out of the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine? Who's making money out of what Israel are doing to Palestine? Oh, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, the weapons manufacturers, they're doing rather well out of it, aren't they? You create conflict, you get eyes of people watching it, so you get engagement, people advertise in that space, okay? You get people interacting, telling us what they think in the comment section. Oh, that's engagement. People like to advertise in that space where there's a lot of traffic, there is a lot of eyes, potential audience for customers. They make money. And while the sport of Formula One is being talked about, it's a trending sport. Oh, that attracts sponsorship. People want to have their brand linked with the sport of Formula One that everybody's all talking about and is excited about. It makes some money, doesn't it? So they created conflict on purpose. And they're encouraging it. And they're encouraging it, they're fueling it by lying to people. You can clearly stop conflict. You can resolve conflict very quickly. You can sort out what the problem is, you identify what the problem is, and then you identify how to solve it. Get onto Google. Just go, what is a problem-solving strategy? And it'll tell you 6 or 8 steps as to how you resolve a problem. Why don't we resolve problems? Why don't we resolve problems? There's a reason we don't resolve problems. Because these problems often are manufactured and people are making money out of these problems. And nobody then addresses it. And those people who should be in positions to create solutions or address the problems, they're corrupt because they don't do that. They enable it. They enable those who are profiting from the situation to profit. A bit too deep for some people, unfortunately, but that's the reality of the situation. So many things that are problems in this world are easily solvable. Easily solvable. Okay, and that's not by making a country have to sign a deal to hand over $13 trillion worth of their mineral rights. That's not the solution. Anyway, right, so carry on with Crofty.
Race control said the lap cars wouldn't be allowed to overtake under the safety car, and then why the decision was changed to allow some of the cars to overtake. And it's possible that after the Williams car of Nicholas Latifi was cleared away, there was time for the lap cars to overtake once the marshals had left the track.
So I'm just going to replay that.
To overtake under the safety car or not to that race.
So whether it's controversial or not, listen to this.
I'm sure the debate will rage on as to why race control said the lap cars wouldn't be allowed to overtake under the safety car, and then why the decision was changed to allow some of the cars to overtake.
So we got told that they wouldn't be allowed to overtake, and at that point in time, you two, Brundle and Crofty, were telling us that, which means there's a lot to do for Max Verstappen, which means they'll all get blue flags, Doesn't mean that at all. So even though the message was given out that lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake, you were still lying to everybody, saying that we were still going to see a race. So what's going on there? Because you can't resume the race without completing the mandatory regulation. You can't complete that race, leaving Lando Norris tucked up behind Lewis Hamilton. Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake, which means Max has got a lot to do. But they'll all get... No, you can't do it. Lando's now a lap behind Gasly. You can't resume racing. But Brundle and Crofty are lying to a global audience, telling us that that's what was possible. It's not. So again, we saw so much debate, people saying, I think they should have left the lapped cars there and began. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. You can't do it. You've not been allowed to do it since the beginning of the 2012 season, when they must have realised, actually, when we took that part out of the regulations, this is how it left competitors. That doesn't comply with the fundamental principles of sporting fairness that actually underpins this notion of this being a sport. So, not valid at all. So we get the notion of, firstly, they weren't going to be, which you lied to us about in terms of it still being possible to race, and then they were, and that's going to create an argument.
It's possible that after the Williams car of Nicholas Latifi was cleared away, there was time for the lap cars to overtake.
It turns out that after it was cleared away, there was time for the cars to overtake. So Crofty there is giving the validation that, it turns out that there was time for them to do it. No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't. The regulation, and we'll come to it in a minute, is once the clerk of the course considered it safe to do so, and the message, lapped cars will now be allowed to overtake, is given to all the competitors. Okay, these cars will proceed past the leader in the safety car and proceed around the track, making every effort to catch the back of the pack. Okay, once the last lapped car has passed the leader, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. Okay, in order for that to take place and there be any racing in a 58 lap race, that order has to be given on lap 56, so that lap 57 can be that mandatory lap that the safety car will return to the pits at the end of lap 57, okay, having all those cars passed on lap 56, and that's the only way you'll get lap 58 as a racing lap. We saw on track marshals jumping off the track at turn 14 as they passed turn 14 on lap 56. The order wasn't given to lap 57, which means there's not time to complete that procedure and resume racing. Crofty's just said it turns out there was time.
That after the Williams car of Nicholas Latifi was cleared away, there was time for the lap cars to...
See? Lying.
Overtake once the marshals had left the track. I think Michael Massey, as the race director, wouldn't have want marshals on the track whilst people were overtaking and unlapping themselves, but this, Martin...
Absolutely right there. The race director wouldn't have wanted marshals on the track whilst people were overtaking. That's the clerk of the course. that will hand back once the track is safe, and clearly it wasn't safe if there's marshals on the track.
The last lap, and of all the miles of racing we've had this season, the 3.2 miles that we'll talk about were overtaking and unlapping themselves, but this, Martin, the last lap, and of all the miles of racing we've had this season, the 3.2 miles that we'll talk about again and again and again.
I wasn't expecting.
We'll talk about these 3.2 miles again and again and again. So you want to switch everybody's attention to what took place on that last lap, not the contrivance before. You've told us, oh, it turns out there was time. You're not focusing on what went wrong and the impact that had.
Expecting Max to go quite so early with that, if I'm honest. Probably left him exposed then down the next two straights, and but he managed to hold it all together.
So Brundle's commentating on the visuals that they're showing of a replay of the last lap. Okay, I wasn't expecting Max to go quite so early, but he managed to hold it together down the next two straights. Doesn't talk about Max weaving down that straight between turn 5 and turn 6, which is illegal, which you get a penalty for crowding your opponent on track. Okay, didn't talk about that.
A regulation 39.12, the clock.
Okay, so this is Brundle. And let's just listen to this from the start.
Exposed then down the next two straights.
So, pay attention to this.
And but he managed to hold it all together. A regulation 39.12. The clerk of the course considers it, if the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, the message lap cars may now overtake. And he didn't consider it safe to do so, we're told, because marshals, or they were clearing the car away. But for it to happen so quickly like that, what a turnaround. What a turnaround for the opportunity on that last flying lap.
So, what Martin Brundle is able to do in the immediate aftermath of that contrived event is quote to the world a regulation whereby he's explaining why the order was given that lapped cars were not allowed to overtake, and then why they were. So he is just presenting that. Let's just rewind that and listen to how Martin Brundle explains it.
If the clerk of the course and but he managed to hold it all together. A regulation 39.12. The clerk of the course considers it, if the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, the message lap cars may now overtake. And he didn't consider it safe to do so, we're told, because marshals, or they were clearing the car away. But for it to happen so quickly like that, what a turnaround. What a turnaround for the opportunity on that last flying lap.
So, you've quoted a regulation, Martin, to explain to us all why on lap 56, the message, the banner, lapped cars may now overtake, or overtaking will not be... Well, it wasn't. The actual message put on the screen were lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. That's not even in the regulations at all. That was a contrivance, okay? But you're quoting a regulation, 39.12, which in the previous version of the regulations, back probably because this version of the regulations only came out at the start of the week before, I think when you're actually contriving the script for this, you're probably looking at the previous set of regulations where the article number was slightly different. So that was why it was a different number in your script, Martin. But you weren't able to read the entire regulation. Considering you're reading this regulation, why did you not read the thing in its entirety, Martin? If the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, and the message lapped cars may now overtake has been sent to all competitors via the official messaging system, any cars that have been lapped by the leader will be required to pass the cars on the lead lap and the safety car. Oh, well, if you'd have read that out, Martin, then people would have gone, whoa, that's not right, is it? Okay, any cars that have been lapped, well, that's 8 cars that have been lapped, and they're required to pass. Oh, that's setting the alarm bells ringing, isn't it, Martin? Yes. This will only apply to cars that were lapped at the time they crossed the line at the end of the lap, during which they crossed the first safety car line for the second time after the safety car was deployed. What that little sentence means is that essentially, if you become lapped after that safety car has been on track for, say, more than one lap, I think, say 2 laps, if you then get lapped at that stage, you're not eligible to be released to unlap. It's your own fault that you've become lapped at that stage, essentially, so you're not eligible to be released. All right? So, this bit, having overtaken the cars on the lead lap and the safety car, these cars that have been released, which needed to be all 8 of them, should then proceed around the track at an appropriate speed without overtaking and make every effort to take up position at the back of the line of cars behind the safety car. What does that mean? What is that achieving, everybody? Did Martin Brundle read this out? Having overtaken, so Lando Norris, down to the last running competitor in that race, Mick Schumacher. There were 8 of them. So it was Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc, Vettel, Ricciardo, Stroll, Schumacher. 8 cars. Having overtaken the cars on the lead lap and the safety car, these cars should then proceed around the track at an appropriate speed without overtaking. And remember, when just them 5s were released, they were told they're racing from the moment they cross that start-finish line. No, that's the unlapping lap. They're not racing, but they were told that they were. So that's another failing. That's another illegal thing that took place there. And make every effort to take up position at the back of the line of cars behind the safety car. Okay, so the strap-on fanboy who wants to tell us what they think in the comment section and wants to tell us, oh, it's nothing to do with sporting fairness. Rightio, lads. Rightio. Okay. Carry on masturbating because you don't know what you're talking about. So that's what it's to do. It's the intention of them linking back up with the back of that safety car snake to create a situation where we've got the correct race order, all the competitors in the correct race order, nose to tail, having wiped out all of the previously built up advantages between all competitors. That's effectively resetting it for everybody. Sporting fairness to everybody. Okay? Whilst they are overtaking, and in order to ensure this may be carried out safely, the cars on the lead lap must always stay on the racing line unless deviating from it is unavoidable. That's essentially saying we see these cars weaving around to supposedly maintain tyre temperature when they're lapping behind the safety car. Once this message is given out to begin this unlapping procedure, all the cars have got to stay on the racing line. Don't be weaving because there's going to be cars coming by you and lapping. All right. So that's what that's saying. Unless the clerk of the course considers the presence of the safety car is still necessary, once the last lapped car has passed the leader, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. You didn't read that out, did you, Martin? You did read out part of this regulation. You called it 39.12, but it's essentially the same thing that you were reading out because it still all said this. This is just the different version of the regulations, a later update of the regulations, and this is what that whole regulation states. 48.12, which was 39.12 in the version you were reading from. But you didn't read this bit, Martin. You, the presented expert, were gaslighting the audience. You were lying to the world to present a part of it to make it seem like, oh, well, this is the reason he's done that. Well, carry on reading, and that will expose just how wrong it was. Oh, but you didn't do that, did you, Martin? Yeah, you know an awful lot about what happened, and it's super uncomfortable for the sport, isn't it? But it's a highly complex situation. It's a fast-moving, highly complex technical sport. Don't you go worrying your little heads, kids. Ask the strap-on fanboy what they think in the comment section. Let you argue amongst yourself over it. Because the expert, he's just going to lie to you to incite the conflict rather than clear it up so that everybody fully understands. You see, it's quite easy to not have the conflict if everybody is informed of the facts of the situation. If everybody is aware of exactly what the rule is and why, then there is no conflict, is there? But they lie to us. They don't tell us the purpose. They lie about the purpose, going, oh, it's to get them out of the way. Everybody wants to see a last lap shootout, don't you all? You all want to see that, don't you? Yes, that's what you want, isn't it? No, I just want to see sport. Yeah, that. Everybody wants to see a goal in football, don't they? That's why at the end of 90 minutes and the game was a draw and your team was on course to draw that game, pick up a point for the league system, which may have been enough to progress them to the knockout stages of the World Cup. It may have been enough to win them the league. That draw would have been fine. But everybody wants to see a goal, don't they? Everybody. You all want to get aroused and excited, don't you all? That's why the referee broke the rules of the sport and kept on playing until a goal was scored. Even though the referee knew that your team was down to 9 men because he'd sent 2 of them off. Everybody wanted to see a goal, didn't you all? Let me know what you think in the comment section. No, because that's not allowed, is it? Simple rules that all the teams sign up to in order to enter the competition, and you can't then change the rules before one round of that competition and say, oh, let's all agree because we all want to see that, don't we? No, you're not allowed to do that. That's called fraud. Anyway, unless the clerk of the course considers the presence of the safety car is still necessary, once the last lapped car has passed the leader, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. Martin Brundle did not read that out, did he? No, because there were 2 failings with that part as well. Okay, because once the last lapped car has passed the leader, that didn't happen. Mick Schumacher was the last lapped car. The regulations state that he had to pass the leader. No, that didn't happen. So that was wrong. That's the second thing that would have set the alarm bells ringing. And the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. That didn't happen as well. There's your slam dunk. There is the proof that the regulations were breached. That last lap was contrived. Even by releasing those lapped cars on lap 57, okay, which the course was clear by then. So you can carry it out, you can release them, which he did, but only 5, so he carried it out wrongly. That's fine, you can release them, but the safety car remains on track for lap 58. It's still a safety car finish. That's what it is. If the clerk of the course considers track conditions are unsuitable for overtaking, the message "overtaking will not be permitted" will be sent to all competitors via the official messaging system. See that? Overtaking will not be permitted. The message they gave us was lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. And Crofty jumps immediately, which means Max Verstappen will have an awful lot to do. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that the conditions are unsuitable for overtaking because there were marshals on the track. That's what it means. And when the track conditions are safe, then you get to the top here where it says, if it's safe to do so, then you carry out the procedure. If it's not safe, you can't do it. If it is safe, you do it. Does anybody want to argue with that? Does anybody want to propose a hybrid solution where you don't do that? Or is it in black and white that that's what you do? Oh, it's in black and white that that's what you do. So, back to here. Let's just carry on.
Races won and lost with last lap passes. It's happened, of course, before in Formula One. It doesn't happen often, though.
Came down to the last lap. Unbelievable.
Yes, unbelievable.
The last time we had a race won with a last lap pass, Lewis Hamilton getting past Nico Rosberg.
It's incredible that they know all the examples, don't they? They've got such knowledge of the sport, but they don't know the rules and regulations. Oh, but they do know the rules and regulations. They were purposefully lying. They're paid to lie to perpetrate the narrative. These are corrupt, fraudulent criminals. Understand that? That's exactly what they are. They are corrupt criminals. Make the press play.
On the last lap of the Austrian Grand Prix in 2016, we saw Toto Wolff shouting "No, Michael, no" at Michael Massey, the race director. And they fixed one headset last week when emotions ran high in Jeddah. They might have had to have done another one tonight at Mercedes. Such was the fury and the dismay from the Mercedes team principal. And there, the sight that we all want to see, Martin, after a season like this, the handshake, the embrace and the congratulations from one champion to another, from one competitor to another, from one rival to another.
So we're focusing on all the drama. Oh, let's focus on the drama. How does it make you feel? This is lovely to see, isn't it? It's lovely to see. No, let's focus on the corruption. Let's focus on the crime and let's solve the crime. And let's see the perpetrators receive the consequence for being criminals.
Go ahead, Toto.
You need to reinstate the lap before. That's not right.
Toto?
Yes.
It's called a motor race, okay?
Sorry?
We went to car racing.
Scripted. Entirely scripted. You need to reinstate the lap before. That's not right. From Toto Wolff. Okay? That is what was chosen by F1 TV to play to the world. Okay? They did so to give a nod to those of us that know the rules. Okay? That know, that have watched this sport for a long period of time and are aware that when you do the when there's a safety car and there's lapped cars, you have to do this in lapping procedure, and the safety car remains on track for at least one more lap after those cars have passed it. We know that, and that's why we knew it had to be a safety car finish. So this is Toto Wolff saying what we know, but he's not saying it clearly, is he? All he's saying is, oh, you've got to reinstate the lap. That's not right. That's a contrivance. Because if you're in that position of Toto Wolff, what you say is, you've not carried out that procedure correctly. You've not restored sporting fairness to all competitors prior to resuming that race. That is an illegal restart. That is a completely invalid restart. Instead, Toto says, oh, you've got to reinstate the lap. See, that's not saying it in anywhere near as forceful or as clear a manner as to just how wrong that was. That will get the strap-on fanboys going, ha 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 ha, look at Toto being sore. Toto's sore. Oh, he's still crying, because they don't understand what the word crying means. But you clearly articulate it. You clearly say, that was wrong. This is why it was wrong. These are the regulations. You didn't follow them. All our strategies are calculated based upon the regulations, and you've just broken them. That's not allowed. That's corrupt. That's going to get cancelled out by the steward's appeal. So, that's a contrivance. And then we get Michael Massey. Toto, it's called a motor race. We went car racing. Well, what a sausage is. Okay, but again, a puppet. Okay, somebody that they could manipulate, somebody that ultimately got a big payoff and signed a legal document um, whereby he's now not allowed to say anything. And all that will happen if he does say something is the money that they paid him for his silence, they will say, oh, you said something, so we're going to have our money back. Because that's all that an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, can actually do. Okay? The money we've given you to shut up, Michael Massey, if you say anything, we'll claim that back off you. So the notion of law should exist for the purpose of justice. Okay, justice, the difference between right and wrong. Is somebody being silenced to protect something that is wrong? Is that right? It's not, is it? So why do we have a device in law, something there, this fundamental principle, to uphold this difference between right and wrong? Why do we have a device that enables protection of something that is wrong? Messed up, isn't it? Yeah, but always understand, lawyers don't care about justice. They care about money, okay? And therefore, they will argue for money, all right? And they will invent these legal devices to absolve perpetrators from their crimes. But that's just a corruption, isn't it? That's a corrupt system. So start seeing the notion of what law is, what justice is, and what legal systems really are, and who they're really there to benefit. Those who can afford their version of justice. Yeah, justice for the wealthy. Well, it's not justice, is it? The absolvance for consequence of crime for the wealthy. That's essentially what these legal systems are actually set up for. Anyway, we'll carry on.
And that's Michael Massey, I think, saying we went car racing. He wanted every chance to finish this race as a race, not behind the safety car.
There we go. Michael Massey, the race director, he wanted to see that race end as a race, not behind the safety car. See, this is the validation from Crofty. Oh, this is why this referee has done this. You've just watched the World Cup final of football, and we're all watching it. Everybody's watching it. It's gone into extra time. It could go into a penalty shootout, but it's England against the Netherlands at football. That's being a bit ambitious, seeing England get to a World Cup final, because we always choke. We certainly did under Gareth Southgate as a manager. But England v the Netherlands in the World Cup final. And, England have had 2 players sent off. Yay, it's looking good for the Dutch, isn't it? It's looking good for the Dutch. But we've scrapped our way through to the end of stoppage time, at the end of extra time. Okay, and it's a penalty shootout. So it should be a penalty shootout to settle the World Cup final. And we're past the 120th minute. Okay, we've played all the stoppage time allowed. But the referee wanted to see it end as a football match, not as a penalty shootout. So he kept it going. He kept the game playing, didn't he? Kept everybody playing football for another 15 minutes. 15 minutes of unallocated time until the Netherlands scored. Yay! You are the world champions, the world champions. And you all go jumping up and down in your orange and waving your flags because you like celebrating achievements which aren't valid. And there you go. Is that valid? Would the commentators go, yes, the referee is the kind of referee that likes to see a game of football end as a game of football, not as a penalty shootout? Is that what the commentators would say? Yeah, that's why the referee didn't blow up when he had to blow up at the end of stoppage time that was at the end of extra time. He's just carried on playing for another 15 minutes until the Dutch scored, knowing full well the Dutch had a massive advantage because England were down to 9 men. And in those conditions, that referee broke the rules of the sport by carrying on playing for another 15 minutes that shouldn't have been played until one team eventually won. Oh, that's wrong, isn't it? Yes, that's wrong. But would commentators be saying, well, what's going on with this referee? Why has this referee played 15 minutes? Or would they be saying, oh, but this is just the referee. This is what the referee is, the kind of referee that wants to see the game end as a game of football, not as a penalty shootout, not behind the safety car. Who's paid to lie to you? Who's paid to validate the fraud, validate corruption, validate wrongdoing from the sport's governing body? That's exactly what he's done.
Full respect there to Lewis and his dad Anthony. They went straight to the Verstappen camp and gave them big congratulations. Jerry Horner there, you might know formerly as Jerry Halliwell, of course, Christian's wife. And there it is.
And they had to paint that in a hurry.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just going to pause the video, and if there's any more little nuggets from Brundle, I'll play them, but this might be near the end, we'll see. Well, what they're talking about is the fact that on the floor they've painted Max Verstappen world champion.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's been rubbed out. Because 10 laps to go, it wasn't looking like that, was it?
Well, it was a different story. 10 laps to go, this man wasn't on the podium. And Carlos Sainz can now come and stand on the podium for Ferrari for what will be the 6th time in his career. Lewis Hamilton steps on to a podium that he thought he would be standing on top of, and on top of the world this evening. But in the last lap, all that was taken away by Max Verstappen, who went on maximum.
By Max Verstappen. Yeah, it was Max that took it away, not the governing body of the sport, by breaking the rules to set that up, knowing that Max was significantly advantaged, yeah?
Attack was given the chance, the miracle that Christian Horner was asking for, 10 laps from the end, and he took the opportunity.
Lewis didn't do anything wrong tonight, eh? A great start, pretty much led everything. Didn't fall for him with the virtual safety car and safety car. Team didn't want to risk losing track position, and in the end, they lost them the World Championship.
The team didn't want to risk losing track position, and in the end, it lost them the World Championship. Again, look what people were fighting about in the comment section. Look what people were fighting about in social media. Oh, it was Mercedes' fault for not pitting Hamilton. In the end, it cost that. No, it wasn't Mercedes' strategy that cost them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Mercedes, okay? They should not have pitted Hamilton on lap 14, I think it was. He started the race on medium tyres, could have easily gone to lap 20, 25. That would have... Perez started the race on softs. They could have waited till Perez pitted before pitting Hamilton on his mediums, making sure that Hamilton wasn't held up by Perez. No, Mercedes played into that drama. They played into that script. Okay, Mercedes were atrocious. They were part of this. So I'm not defending Mercedes. But at that final safety car situation, you do not lose track position when the statistics will say that it's highly unlikely that the race is going to resume. So you do not come into the pits to change tyres when it's likely to be a safety car finish and potentially risk losing track position if the car in second place decides to stay out. So you don't do it. So that didn't lose them anything. What lost them was the corruption. But it was all a contrivance. So I'll skip past the national anthems and the podium celebration. So Here we go.
Smiles amidst the tears from Red Bull and for Max Verstappen. The most important win of his Formula One career. He picks up his 10th win of the season. 10 wins in a calendar year to match the 10 from the rest of his career combined. And it's the...
Right, so 10 wins from the calendar year to match the 10 from the rest of his career. Now, prior to the beginning of this season, he'd won 10 Grand Prix. And at the season opener, first race of that 2021 season, Brundle was describing Hamilton, then a 7-time world champion, winner of 90-odd Grand Prix, comparing him and Verstappen had just won 10 Grand Prix at that stage, and comparing the two as saying two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen. A 7-time world champion against a 0-time world champion. And Brundle's calling them two of the greatest drivers we've ever seen at that Bahrain Grand Prix on the start of the season. Rather strange. Crofty's just told us 10 Grand Prix wins this season. One of those was the gifted victory of the Belgian parade, which didn't even qualify as being a race. The FIA's own regulations are when you go out and parade around the track behind the safety car, the race will be deemed to have started when the safety car returns to the pits and the leader crosses that start-finish line for the first time after the safety car's returned to the pits. That never happened. All that happened in Belgium is the safety car took those cars onto the track, paraded round for 2 or 3 laps, and came back into the pits, and they all followed him back into the pits because it wasn't safe to go racing. There was never a race at Belgium 2021. Okay, the race didn't start, and yet they said, "Oh, Max has won that. He's not done anything. That's a void event." So, but what he got gifted 12.5 points. Lewis Hamilton got gifted 7.5 points. Neither should have been gifted anything because nothing took place other than a parade. But they didn't want to refund anybody any money for not seeing anything. They wanted to pretend. So they gifted Max a victory and 5 more points than Lewis to add to the totals for the World Championship. So that result gets annulled anyway. That result needs wiping from the history of the sport. Okay, so that's down to 9 victories. And then we've got this event, which is not a valid victory. The valid winner of Abu Dhabi 2021 was Lewis Hamilton. Now let's reset those statistics, because everybody likes those statistics that validate Max absolutely deserved it. He fully deserved it. Okay, 8 wins for the season for Max. Okay, 9 wins for the season for Lewis Hamilton. Who absolutely deserves it now? Or is it all about how many laps you've led? Is it about how many laps you've led, is it? No. Because you can lead, well, how many laps of Abu Dhabi did Lewis Hamilton lead? Was it 57? No, it wasn't. I think he was behind Perez for a few of them. Oh, he led the most amount of laps at Abu Dhabi 2021. He absolutely deserved it. No, it doesn't work like that, does it? What matters is who crosses the finish line first. That determines how many World Championship points you earn from that race. It's not the laps led, an irrelevant statistic. It's about where you finish. And had the rules been carried out correctly, Lewis Hamilton wins Abu Dhabi 2021. Simple as that. Carry on.
The win that gives him his first World Championship. Lewis Hamilton will pick up the runners-up trophy in a moment after Christian Horner receives the Constructors' Trophy. Mercedes stronghold.
Christian Horner receives the Constructors' Trophy? What, for the race win? Not for the Constructors' Championship. It's for the race win, for the winning constructor of the race. That's right. I got confused, but I worked it out. Real time. There we go.
On the Drivers' Championships in this turbo hybrid era, broken by Red Bull tonight, and broken in a last gasp dramatic fashion. Well, if Hollywood wants to get involved in F1, try topping that script.
Try topping that script. Yeah, couldn't make it up, could you?
If you're making it up.
I wonder if there's a postscript to this yet.
Oh, I wonder. Somebody's penning it right now, aren't they, Brundle?
I imagine Mercedes-Benz will be demanding to know exactly the procedure in those closing stages.
Yeah. Mercedes will be wanting to know the procedure, not the 108.7 million people that you've defrauded. No, don't them go worrying their little heads. Move on already. Or actually, fight in the comment section of social media for the clicks and the engagement and the cha-ching, the money.
In the last lap and a third, basically.
They'll ask why was it that some cars were allowed to overtake, not all cars allowed to overtake. If every car had been allowed to overtake, we might not have got that one lap of racing action. Max Verstappen.
If every car would have been allowed to overtake, we might not have got that racing action. And then we move on. So what we do, we acknowledge it, but then we move past it. We don't delve into it and identify exactly what was wrong. We give a nod to it. Oh yeah, that happened, didn't it? Anyway, Max is brilliant, isn't he, everybody? Oh yeah, that happened as well, didn't it? Yeah, but Max is brilliant, everybody, isn't he? Look at what they do.
Has led the World Championship for more rounds than any other driver this season. He's picked up more wins than any other driver this season. He picks up the bubbles and the sparkly stuff.
He picks up the bubbles. Now again, that background theme tune can block content on copyright, so I'm just having to pause it while that plays.
Celebrate. This is a Formula 1 World Championship for
Sorry, I keep having to stop it.
the first time. The chapter has ended. I hope you stayed right until the end, and if it was worthwhile, well,
Yep, always worthwhile.
don't forget the sequels coming our way in 2022.
The sequel in 2022, where we see Adrian Newey's genius.
In 98 days' time, just enough time for Verstappen and Red.
98 days' time. Oh, it took them 98 days to then construct a report by the FIA, didn't it? Into it. And they dropped that on the eve. It took them 97 days. Because they dropped that on the eve of the Grand Prix, on the actual, just before qualifying.
To celebrate a championship under the lights in Abu Dhabi.
Crazy. Come on, Brundle. I want to hear some more from Brundle. I hope this doesn't get blocked on copyright just for this crappy tune in the background. Sorry about this.
Max, you've had a moment to reflect, not very long, but
Oh, it's Button.
you've seen Christian, you've seen your dad, your girlfriend, and the whole team. Just tell us what you're feeling right now.
It's just insane. I mean,
Insane. I'll see if I can get any more of Brundle. Well, I had to fast forward a lot. It seemed it was the end of commentary after that last interview with Max, and then I fast forwarded a lot just to see if there was anything else. There wasn't, and we get through to about here, really.
sorry, can you go away, please?
Sorry, can you go away, please? We can all hope. We can all hope. Anyway, that will do on this video. This is what the night of Abu Dhabi 2021. This is what Sky Sports F1 played to us to validate the fraud. Okay, they couldn't identify a simple fact. Brundle was able to read out the part of the regulation that gave some sort of authenticity. Oh, this is the reason why they did what they did, is the way that Brundle presents it. but he only reads out a snippet of that for the narrative, rather than reading that in full, which would clearly show that everything was a contrivance. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Absolute corruption. Anyway, that'll do on this one. Thank you all for your time.